Hey, everybody. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. Of course, I'm Steve David, and I'm your host. And today we talk about a review in football for 2018. So, I know we're in 2019, but let's review 2018 and see what we did right and what we could have done better, and so on and so on. So, I've got an expert panel who is going to help me discuss that with you, viewers. Let me take time to introduce my co-host, Narada Wilson. Welcome, Narada.
Always a pleasure to be here, Steve, and all the best for the new year.
I know. What you did for the new year?
Well, last year, I was out of the country, so right. I came in and I got to spend time with family and friends. Had a couple weddings to attend also. And now it's good to be back and talk football with you guys.
Okay, great. We're glad to have you, buddy.
Pleasure.
And next to Narada is Alvin Henderson. Welcome to the show, Alvin.
Happy New Year to all, and glad to be back on talking about football and talking about local football and not just watching a lot of football, international football. Let's talk local football today.
I ain't seen you for a couple of months and you're so grown up, man. You look like a kid doing summer camp, right? Summer vacation. All right, great. Glad to have you, Alvin. And then we got good old Larry. Larry Joseph. Larry, welcome to the set.
Thanks again, Steve, and well, Happy New Year to the panel and to our guests.
And the pomerac tree has pomerac?
It's flowers in, Steve.
Flowers in. All right, I'll be down to get some. All right, viewers, sit back, sit tight, and let's see what the panel has to say about what we've done in football for 2018. Okay, guys, I'll open up the panel to discuss any story. I tell you what, I heard the national coach said, and I want to start with that, said in an interview that for us to do well, we have to play more football, and playing 5 or 6 months of football is not enough to compete with those people outside. I want to know what you guys think about that statement, and then I would tell you what I think about that statement. Who wants to start?
Well, there's no question in my mind that statement is well grounded. If you look at most of the leagues, the professional leagues across the world, the leagues definitely play almost 10 months of the year, and we only played 4 months for various reasons, predominantly financial, this year. I don't know when the Pro League is going to restart, but it's too long a period where players are not active. And if you're going to get anywhere near the best out of your players, you have to have them actively playing football, in my opinion, for a minimum of 10 months of the year. I heard Guardiola from Manchester City begging for 2 months vacation after his hectic schedule. Right. Our players, without a hectic schedule, are being given 4, sometimes 6 months of vacation. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I agree, Steve. There's absolutely no way that our national team can compete at the international level if the players that form this team are not playing regularly and against high-level competition. Because, how could we expect to match or even beat opponents who play, as the doc said, 10 months of competition and the other months of preseason games? So you're talking for 12 months of actual football-related activities. So it's one thing that has plagued us for the last few years. It has been reflected in our results.
So you think?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think, we have to use mechanisms that probably could work for us. If I look at even with Brazilian football and comparing, they have about 5 months where they play technically the state or the city or the town competitions, and then they move to the national competitions. And we in Trinidad, we're playing 4 months at the professional level and then having 6 months doing nothing. There must be a way that they could sort of incorporate, even if these guys just play at a lower tier level, whether it's community, whether it's with another league, just so all the leagues could have competitive football on a constant basis. We're too separated for such a small country to be having a league where you play 4 or 5 months and then you're stagnant. There are other leagues going on in the country. We need to find ways for these guys to at least, as Larry said, to be competitive. It's just about playing the actual football.
Yeah, well, and I have a complete different view on that. Why? Because most of our national players plays outside. So they're playing competitive all the time. Secondly, this should give us a chance because we're looking for solutions.
Correct.
This should give us a chance to develop our local players because we have them for 6 months. Why don't we get those players in training, just like we did with the women and we paid the women?
Right.
Why don't we get them in training and we have them for 6 months with a national coach doing stuff?
Yeah.
I think that should strengthen our program. And then we could go outside and we could play Barbados and Grenada, whoever, but they're competitive and they're together as a team, year-round kind of, almost 6 months. I think that would help.
I think that would make sense, especially considering the fact that if we name the national players and we get 20 that play in overseas, we may struggle to get another 20 local base. So it's very easy to really get together maybe 15, 18 of the top guys who right on the brink of the national team have already broken into it, but they're on the local circuit, and really pay them as the professionals under the same stipulations that we did with the women, and probably have them in a camp.
But Steve, football is based on club competition.
Correct.
These players are club, they're members of the club, and the clubs play against each other in competition. The development of a player develops while he's playing competitively for his club. He can be selected for a national team. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a concomitant national program at the same time, where you can bring your national players together on a regular basis. But for a player to improve to the quality that you would like him to be, he must be playing against quality opposition on a regular basis, minimum 1 to 2 games per week during a competitive period. It is often said that your best teacher is the opposition you play against. And that's where top quality comes, playing against top-class opposition.
So you think we get that playing in this local pro league?
We have, this is the best that we could get at this point in time. What would be even better, in my opinion, is if we have, if we had the resources to play a Caribbean Pro League.
Right.
If we play a Caribbean Pro League, if with all resources being equal, to me, that would be the kind of competition that would generate a higher standard of play throughout our region.
Yeah, and I hear you, and I hear you because while the Pro League is going on, you can see different players. I think that makes sense with seeing different players, but developing your national team, I think getting them together for 6 months, you'd be better than any team.
There's no reason why they should be excluded. That program could run alongside your club structure at the same time. Right. There's no reason. It used to be. People are very now they hold their players, especially their national players, very dear to them in the club, and they want the same treatment as an international team outside, which is, according to the FIFA rules, for international dates, you only get in that player 5 days before the actual game, and teams in Trinidad and Tobago want the same as teams in Mexico, in Thailand, in India, as one of our players I see has recently gone there. They want the same. They want the ability to have their players with them all the time. 5 days, FIFA says you must release them before an international game. That's what they want.
Larry's anxious to sum it all up. Give us the whole
well, I was going to say that it's going to be difficult in our structure now because everything that we're talking about that we should do comes with a financial side of things. And as we all know, the finances locally in terms of our football administration has always been a sore point. So if we will have to take or assume that the finances are good so that we could do what we're talking we would like to do, because what we are speaking about here is, of course, what's the word I'm looking for? Is the ideal. When we know in the reality of our situation is that we are not even close to ideal. I mean, we're struggling even to get our local players to play in the Pro League. Last year was probably the worst in terms of playing consistently over the season, right? It speaks, again, it goes back, I suppose, to administration. That could be beaten about for a whole program. But what's important is the least that is expected, and Doc intimates it all the time, is that the local players should be playing. Regardless of what we say here has to be done, we always have to be, the basic structure of it is that the local players have to be playing. Our highest level of football is the Pro League. The Pro League should be running, and it should be running for a length of time so that the players are exposed to competition for the longest period of time that is possible for a season. Just to give us a chance when these players graduate to the national team, to give us our national team a chance to be competitive at the international level. As former players and even as regular supporters in the houses of our nation, when the Trinidad team has a game and we have poor results because of poor performance, we don't feel well sitting in our homes looking at it. You know, so the least we could do is to have these Pro League players or players in the clubs playing regularly. And of course, we must get the administrative support to try to do some of the things that we are intimating here. And remember, we live in a world that is changing every single day, that there are advances that are taking place so quickly that if Trinidad football doesn't keep their hand on the pulse of what's going on, and we keep going around in circles with personality conflicts and all that kind of thing, the results are going to reflect that, as we've seen in some of the results last year.
So again, and my brain churns as while you guys talk. So then it brings me to the point, because we only have 10 teams in the professional league. We have a whole bunch in the Super League. Why don't we join the Super League and the Pro League and have a first tier and a second tier? And we get maybe 15, 20 teams. And we run better and we can play for 10 months. But with 10 teams playing for 10 months, that is not going to...
I agree, but I also believe that even with them not joining, because I understand it takes some time, there are a lot of, let's say, off-the-field issues that have to be resolved. I believe that if the both entities think about it and put football first,
right,
I don't see a problem with Super League runs their league, Pro League runs their league, and when there's a time when both aren't playing, they can just have maybe half from the Super League, play the top half from the Pro League, and the bottom half play the bottom half, just for the continuity of football's sake. And whether it's just a competition on the side at the end. I don't see a problem with that until you resolve.
Me neither. Solution. We're looking for solutions.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, as we sit here, we all know that because you have the animal called human being who runs this organization, you're going to have what you call personality conflicts and that kind of stuff. And it's as simple as that. That's what's happening in our football today. Trinidad, in terms of size, as we all know, is a dot. And in terms of footballers, compared to 2 years ago, the numbers are much smaller now. So you're talking about 10 teams in the Pro League and 10 teams in the Super League. All the best players will be captured within that sphere as it is. But because of who may be heading each organization, you have people, as I mentioned in a previous program, you need people at the head of these groups organized who see football interests first.
Mm-hmm.
And not just first, but it should also be second and third. I think sometimes we have people who see football as first, but then other ulterior motives, second, third, and fourth. And those second, third, and fourth tend sometimes to overtake number one. And then you start to have all these conflicts taking place. And I mean, it's not as simple as I'm making it sound, but it does bring clarity to when you are in charge of an organization and you know, my sole aim is to ensure that this fraternity, that the sport itself remains healthy, or try to get it to be healthy, and that's your focus. Rather than have the sport and then you think about these all other things that could sidetrack you, let's put it that way. Right? So you really need people who have a really strong personality and not easily swayed, and of course of strong moral conviction. That's so important, right? That could hold this organization to say, while under my tenure, I'm going to ensure that I leave it better than when I took it up. And you need people with that strong conviction in these areas. Unfortunately, I don't think that what happens, that we get into all sort of personality and ego fights and that sort of thing, and the sport is what suffers. And of course, when you say sport, in terms of football, we're talking about each and every player that represents each club. And then we have to drill down into the communities. So you see the negative impact it can have if you have administrators who lose sight as to what they really should be doing, how they should be steering the ship. You know.
Okay. All right, viewers, I want you guys to drop us a line, whether it's Facebook or email, and tell us what you think should be done. We want to add you, and then we can pass the message on to the Football Association, so maybe they can get an idea. All right, so we use up a lot of time on that question, that first piece, and that's not reviewing football, but it's good discussion. So we take a break now, and when we come back, let's talk about our under-15 squad, I think, that went to Curacao in 2018. Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
Looking for a safe place for the whole family? Well, now you've found it. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station. Whether it's current affairs, kids and classic TV, sports and community features, Christian and music programming, plus so much more, ACTN is the station for you. Join us each day for programming that puts morals, values, and family first. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
Only by not something.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. Okay, guys, before the break, we were talking about, I asked you guys a question, and we talked a lot about it. Now we're going to get into the review. And we're going to only review what the men have done, or the men review for 2018, because we do have a woman review for 2018 with a women panel or some women on the panel. So we just stick to men. What the men have done. Okay, ladies, so you guys would get your turn as well. Okay, so we're talking about Curacao. Our under-15 squad, I think, went to Curacao. That was the first, probably, outing we had with any national team. I didn't see much of it, or I didn't hear much of it, so I expect you guys to lead the way on this one.
Well, from the start, I jump in first because I was with the elite program that NLCB sponsored and generously sponsored, both male and female.
Okay.
And the boys, we're talking about the boys here. The boys have been coached by Stuart Charles Furvier and two of his assistants, Leonson Lewis and Clyde Leon. And they have done, in my opinion, if it's one shining light for 2018, you can say it's that under 15 program that is progressing, first under 14 program that is now progressed to under 15, and it's a shining light for Trinidad and Tobago. They have gone to a Caribbean tournament, a regional tournament, and they went and played outstandingly well, especially against now a tough Curaçao team in the final game. Curaçao is not easy fodder as they used to be. They're sending down big names back to from Holland and whatnot to coach down there, and Curaçao is one of the up and coming difficult teams that we're going to have to deal with in the future. But our team started doing things that reminded me of our Caribbean teams in the 80s, started beating people by 5, 6, 7 goals, which we never used to see happening. In addition, I saw several highlights of some of the games. I didn't see the full games, and the quality of football that was being played was a joy to behold. I have seen those players from the time they were grouped together to playing, and trust me, there are some outstanding individuals already at age 15, but we've had those before. But this time I'm seeing a team concept from a lower age. I'm seeing a team concept, and what has happened so far has pleased me. That team going forward will now go with against the stronger regional teams and start touring into CONCACAF region, so that there can only be progression from here on in. But that's a flagship moment, in my opinion, for this administration, one of the few that took place on the field, that it was a shining light.
Right.
Well, I wasn't privy to the games themselves. I just read the newspaper reports after the games and the results. The results were very favorable. The newspaper reports reported that the performances were good, and in some cases, in some matches, they were outstanding. I think going forward, as the doc says, one has to be pleased and satisfied because this is under 15, right? And with all the trouble we seem to be having at the senior level, one has to be concerned about the younger age groups and what we are doing so that we have some sort of quality coming through, something to look forward to in the future. So based on that Curaçao tour and the results coming out of it, it does give some sort of shining light and hope that the future of our local football appears at this stage, at least, to be in good hands. In terms of the staff, I'm familiar with all the guys, but more familiar with Stewarty because Stewarty and I play together. So I know the gentleman very well, right? And there is no doubt in his ability to coach. So for me, as a former player, knowing that there are under 15 who are under the charge of Stewarty, I feel confident that that group, if he remains in that position, that group can become something of a force going forward.
Yeah, I would have to agree, and also add that I did hear from Doc. Actually, I think earlier in the year he had messaged me about it, so I know he has been following the team. What I think worked for the team especially, and it's something, you look at any blueprint for success in any team, is that I think the funding was there. So, the young guys at a very young age, they were exposed to the right conditions, let us put it that way. They were able to travel around. They were even on some tournaments, uniforms, everything was intact. And I think once you give that little first impression that, hey, we have things covered, it also gives a little spark to the young players. And I think the coaching staff, just as Larry had mentioned, Stuart Charles is one of our foremost front runners as, leading coach in Trinidad and Tobago for all the years he's been there. So we've actually done the top to bottom pyramid sort of situation where it's putting our best at the bottom. So these guys are being exposed to Trinidad and Tobago's most, highly decorated coach in our league at 14 and 15 years old. You have two younger assistants who, may be able to interact with the guys on a different level, and they're doing well. These young guys, once the coaches stay there, I think if we could invest to secure them for a period, the blueprint is keep what is working continuous. If we could keep that working, those guys already exposed to a regional tournament where they did well. If we could continue to have them at the stadiums, have the parents supporting, the fans supporting, because, you know, persons like Doc and a few other persons go out it was actually on a Sunday or something like that, to watch these kids. I think we've started off well. Our problem has always been, could we continue? And LCB has been generous, and I hope it's something that could continue for some time.
Well, listening to you guys then, and I hate to do this, I've never done this before. I have to give credit to the Pro League, because the Pro League has the youth program that they run every Sunday that when I'm here, I see a lot of it. And it's the best league I think we have in Trinidad, the Pro League youth program. It's so good. Those kids are enthusiastic. They come out, they're ready to play. It's a great Sunday evening to spend, or Sunday to spend watching them play.
I also think, I don't know if Doc will probably agree with me on it, is that the young guys, you were seeing that they were able to do what they're great at. You're seeing a lot of talented players, very quick players. So it's not that they've been, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but they haven't been coached out of their natural talent. We're using, this guy is a good dribbler, let him go. So they're having fun with the football. Right. I think the results are showing. And once we could put that into a system, I think that's one of the teams we could look forward to.
One of the areas that we talked about this under-15 team has to be a holistic development, not just on the football field playing. The discipline instilled into these players, the nutrition that has to come along with their development as players. All of this has to be put in place at this stage, because I still see too many of our youth players when they're at under 20 level with physique that are not consistent with a proper international player. And many players are bursting into senior international teams at 19 and 20. And some of our players don't have the muscle structure and the physique that is necessary to be playing multiple games over a long period of time. And that is perhaps where we've fallen down in Trinidad and Tobago. Right,
right. And we should also, Larry, give Len some some congratulations to for helping develop our youth is the colleges, the secondary schools football league. They've done a good job in that as well.
Yeah, because not talking about any competition that captures that critical developmental age, 13 to 17, between primary school and secondary school. We have to be glad for it, and we also have to pay attention to these competitions, because those are the players who will be progressing from there into the senior teams. And you don't want in the formative years that they pick up all these bad habits to come and give the national senior coach problems, you know what I mean? So yes, it's good that this elite program that we now have established is trying to see if we could bring some order and discipline to the development of the talented youths, so that we have a really good product when it gets to the senior level. You talk about the fact that on a nutritional and physical side of things of the players, or all local players, there is still a deficiency in that area. The doc might be able to answer me. Out of the elite program, what is available to the under 15 under this program? Is there any carryover into the other age groups? My reason for asking that is because what was gained here in this under 15 here could be lost afterwards. So I'm just asking that.
Well, the technical staff and the program continues. At least it is a 5-year program initially with the monies that have been given. Whether NLCB would be willing to give another $10 million for another 5 years so that you carry it into close to 20 years old, that's all waiting to be seen. What has happened in the past is that programs have started only to be cut short abruptly because the funding has disappeared. And so
it comes straight back to what
that
I
has
mentioned.
been one of the main problems of football programs in Trinidad and Tobago.
So NLCB as well needs to get credit for supporting that program.
And that's why I don't normally like to push sponsors up,
right,
unless they've done something significant.
And that's significant.
And I mention them specifically because I think they've done a great job.
Okay, good. Thank you, NLCB. So we rating the under 15 for 2018 with a what? Nobody gets an A in this school. This school doesn't give A's, so it's from B down. So what we give them, a B or a C or what?
I would like to give them an A minus.
Nobody gets an A.
I'm judging from the best that I have seen in Trinidad and Tobago at that level from way back. And as I said, I came back home 35 years ago, and I've been watching youth football from that time with Latapi and Faustin and whatnot. This group has players of that quality.
Well, I ain't talking about the players. I'm just talking about the whole structure with the TFA, the money, the everything.
They are, in my opinion,
get an A
in a better program.
You grading on a curve, man.
I'm grading compared to the best we've had in Trinidad.
All right, so they get a B. They get a B.
It has to be a B.
All right.
From you,
well, I'm scoring. Right? They get a B. So under 15 get a B. So let's move to the next thing was what? The under 20. They went to Orlando.
Yeah,
let's
they just
talk about that
from that tournament.
Yeah,
Orlando,
about the under 20.
I think they won the first 3 games.
Well, we have to talk first, Larry. We have to talk, and you may want to chip in here first about the big problem we had with their preparation. And we've had a former fellow player from your teams, Latapi and his staff, resigning at a crucial moment and then returning just before the tournament because of lack of payment of funds to the team. So I don't know.
So we have to talk about it was ventilated in the press, that whole situation that went on with that under 20 team, primarily the lack of preparation because of the pullout of the staff, because of lack of funding. And I mean, that's a perennial situation in Trinidad football. You know, we've beaten that because it has existed from time immemorial. You know, but for this particular team, as we stick to the topic, suffered from that. It was still good that they were still able to get a team to go because at one time, I mean, it was almost like 7 days before the tournament, it was uncertain whether we would have a team to travel because I had a good friend of mine calling me from Orlando every day. When is the team coming up? Because he wanted to prepare to greet them and anything they needed to provide for them. So every day he's asking me, Larry, when the team coming? I say, boy, I ain't feel that team coming. That team ain't sure to coming on. You know, and of course I'm embarrassed saying this to him, right? Because he's up there and he's lazy with his American counterpart and he's embarrassed too because, you know, so I was glad at least that we were able to get the team finally on a plane to participate in the tournament. And surprisingly, the first few games we actually won. Because I'm getting, my friend is calling me during the games and he's giving me an update on how these scores are going and all these things. And I'm saying, wait, we winning, boy? You know, but I'm glad we did go because at the end of the day, when a national team doesn't take up an assignment, it's the players that loses. And it's the brand TTFAs that loses. It's the country that loses when a team doesn't take up an assignment. You know, so you don't, when you have administrative issues that prevent something like that happening, the losers, there are more losers than winners. So for that particular team, I was glad. I mean, granted, they weren't given the necessary time and preparation, but I know the guys, fortunately, at that age group were fresh out of the colleges league. Some of them still had some match fitness and conditioning. So that helped in the performances. And the early results reflected that. They did really, really well in the early games. We lost to the US in our last game, but that was always expected. That was new.
No, it was, US wasn't quite the last, but US was the crucial game that
to keep reps first.
To decide whether we would win the group or everything. But I think everybody knew going in because they were in our group that, you know, we would lose. We just wanted to put up a good
US and somebody else is what I'm saying.
Suriname
Yeah.
and Puerto Rico. The problem with our team, I thought in the games that we played, is that I thought that yes, you wanted to expose a number of the players, but when you go in to play football at that level and you keep changing the team, no matter how close the games were, you keep changing the team every time, it's very difficult to have any kind of continuity so that you could get a proper performance. And I thought that there were just quite a few too many changes in the team. In addition, there were quite a few players playing out of position for their normal positions that we have seen them at their top level here. And to take a player unprepared and play him out of his position and then change him frequently, I thought that wasn't the best thing at the time to do in a tournament like this. Nevertheless, the players got their chance to show their wares to professional scouts. Not many of them showed up and did quite well, did well enough. Isaiah Lee turned out to be, just a good goal scorer as we saw him in the college league with Naparimo. And he was given a chance with the senior national team afterwards. But because we lacked goal scorers, we were looking for goal scorers coming out of a tournament like this. And possibly we have a gem in Isaiah Lee.
Okay, you have...
Yeah, I think the tournament, for me, usually when the preparation isn't to the best, I still feel that sometimes our under-20s, we went to the college players locally, but I still saw that there could have been, there's a way for us that we need to tie in the players that are playing in university abroad. For some strange reason, I just believe that they are the players that we have that are a little better prepared and maybe in a better position to take up an opportunity like that and play at a better standard. But I agree with what Doc said. There were some names that we know we've been seeing in the SSFL that came on and did well, but we were expecting them to play the next game or start, and then we didn't see it. So I think it was almost as though each guy, as they got started, they were pulled back. So we never really got later on in all cylinders, and it affected the team later on. But we know what happened before, and as I said, just as the under-15s, they're getting everything, and those guys went out there and they did well. I think these guys didn't get everything, so we have to expect what we got.
It is not easy to rotate teams and wins, even at senior professional level. Very difficult to rotate a team and still have the kind of harmony and progression in your play that you would be satisfied with. Jurgen Klopp this week is...
Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we pick up where we left off. Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
Looking for a safe place for the whole family? Well, now you've found it. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station. Whether it's current affairs, kids and classic TV, sport and community features, Christian and music programming, plus so much more, ACTN is the station for you. Join us each day for programming that puts morals, values and family first. We are ACTN The Voice, your family-friendly station.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. Guys, so we discussed it on the 20. Now, let's wrap it up. Let's grade. Let's grade the performance with the management and the planning and everything on this under-20 squad. What do we give that? What grade we give it?
I give the whole everything a D.
A D?
Yes.
A D is going to be an F. What do you think, Larry?
Yeah, I will give them a D, simply because we have to lump everything. I mean, if you had to grade the players' effort on short notice, they would get a higher grade. But we lump in everything, so it'll have to be a low score.
Well, the players' effort is what brings it to F to a D. Okay.
I would agree.
All right, guys. Players, thanks for the effort on the 20 players, because you brought the F grade up to a D. So we thank you so much. I want to take this last session to talk about our national team. We had a few friendlies and so on and so on, and how we're doing. And I know we had a big discussion in the opening about the comment from the coach. But let's talk about the national team and the friendlies. I'll open it up.
Well, to me, it was a good thing that we had as many friendlies as we did. With the funding nowhere to be seen, and the problems with the debt that TNTFA is trying to service. Up to now, I'm not aware of how we were able to travel to all of these long distances and have the funding
to fund
these games, and to have games against the UAE where we did quite well, against Thailand and against Iran. We had another friendly when Panama was preparing for the World Cup, and they came here, but they came with a second string side, and we played a very young fledgling team against them as well, and we lost on that occasion. But for the other games, because I'm home these days as a retiree, I get a chance when there's a game in Thailand, unlike before, I could stream it and watch it. And I saw all these games live. I was lucky enough to see these games live. And we could talk a little bit about the performance afterwards, but overall, I thought defensively we were quite sound, and in attacking, our attacking prowess leaves a lot to be desired. We could talk about details after.
Well, I have joined you, Alvin, as a retiree now.
For different reasons.
For different reasons.
you were forced to retire.
I was sent to pasture early.
No. You'll be back on riding the horses too.
Yeah, and I was able to see a couple of the games on television also. And the results in those games, I wasn't too concerned about the results. I was looking to see if I could see something that I could talk about in terms of organization, structure, technical ability, adapting to foreign conditions, and all that sort of thing. And in the Thailand game and the UAE game, I was pretty impressed with the organization of the team, the performance of some of the players, So even though the results at the end wasn't in our favor, because they are friendlies, for me, at least from my perspective, I am not just the result is scores lower on my graph. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I think what the coach was looking to gain from having friendlies like these, I think he got those results out of it. Because for those of us who have played before, you need these type of preparatory games, warm-up games, especially in foreign conditions, against different styles of play. 30 years ago, Trinidad playing against Thailand, people wouldn't even tune into that because they would figure the result would be Trinidad 10, Thailand 0. But times have changed, right? And so for our present senior team, a friendly against a game like Thailand or UAE, it's a big game for us, right? Because our football has not advanced that much that these teams are considered minnows. So I think that Dennis would have gotten what he was expecting to get out of friendlies like these, and we did see some really good performances individually as well as collectively. I thought the team did fairly well. Things that we could build on, of course, hoping to get more friendlies of that caliber going forward. So I was pleasantly surprised as Doc too, that we were able to actually get the friendlies, because there's a cost to traveling. Some teams, because they want you, they will pay your expenses. I don't know if that's what happened. You right? But the fact is, as a player and where Dennis is concerned, he just wanted to know he was getting a game for his guys to play. So he could see where he needs to improve in, as the case may be. So that was good.
You guys don't think the players that we use should have been younger players preparing for maybe the next World Cup or something?
Well, I thought that's what he did. If you look at the ages of the people who played and who went on the trip, I'm trying to think who was the oldest player there.
Well, the Guerra guy was there for the Thailand game, but he was
the
regular.
He was the only
He
one.
was a recent
Remember,
addition.
I was calling for him to come back.
I think, and it's only because he had this outstanding form.
And he had an outstanding set.
That's why he.
But Atula Guerra was perhaps the only one that stood out, and it's because of his finishing ability and lack of other players in and around the national team who are consistently finishing well. And Winchester not being available, etc., that he got his chance. But majority of the players were all going to be available for this Gold Cup, and for the next World Cup qualifiers.
Okay, so that was good.
Yeah. I think for me, I would just say, because I believe there were interviews or articles where the president came out and said how some of the negotiations went. I think also in some of the cases, it also it assists with the negotiations that you have, because I've worked with teams where when you want a friendly, they will cover some of the expenses. And sometimes the price goes down when you don't have certain players, because they are players based on A-list ranking, B, where their fees may be a bit more. So I think sometimes countries like UAE, where if they could pay for the whole flight, they would, because you have the players' fees are no longer X price. So it's easier to deal with that. We reach into some destinations that, we've had players in Trinidad playing in Thailand for some time, so it was good to get a little friendly day. I thought we may have tried to use some of the players playing, sort of on the East, just to see what they would be like featuring against those guys. But it's great exposure for the younger guys. UAE, we've been to that side before, but it was an excellent game again. And we just need the players to be playing. I think what is dampening to us, the supporters, is just in having these games and in playing to the terms of the opponents, all our games, or most of our games for 2018, were outside of the country. So you find it's a bit lost for your home-based supporters, because we haven't seen our team in action against a better opponent or even an unknown opponent more recently. And that is even my hope for this year, that we get some more games, or we have some negotiating weight to get some teams here. But the guys were exposed to some games outside. It's always great for players to travel and endure new conditions. And they've ventured well, but home games are a little more what we would like, I would like personally this year.
I believe those were financed by the other countries.
Even that is surprising, because that's not often done.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they needed it probably for their preparation for
whatever,
World Cup or whatever.
They could have called on quite a lot of other teams.
Yeah. Right.
The fact that they chose us was good.
Right.
That's good.
And why I would say they would choose us. Let's use a UAE who may play in some of the AFC conferences. They would want some teams with biotype of our players. But if you go to some of the African regions per se, they have some A-list players on each of those countries. You call any one of the countries on the African continent, you could name at least 3 or 4 players that play at the highest level. So you find their match fees are going to be over 3,000 US or so. So you would probably play that on a flight to get one of our players and don't have that additional cost. So I think the negotiating powers, it's really in their hands, because of the fact that we could provide top quality players, fast, all the biotype personalities that they're looking for, or some of these countries looking for, but at a cost that is a bit more, it's easier affordable for them to give a whole package.
All right. I want to make a statement, and then I want you guys to jump on it and chew it up. A lot of our young players here, before they really learn to play the game, they're looking outside for contract. and they're not getting developed properly like they should, I think, before they make that move. So, so I feel we like a revolving door. We just getting players, and then they're running out, and then we have no stability in our football.
Now, recently I heard Mr. Warner make a statement that at Ollie Camp's funeral, which I totally disagreed with. He said, we now don't have players outside anymore. And I kind of was a little taken aback. We have players outside. In fact, I checked recently, and we have the most ever players in the history of Trinidad and Tobago football playing in foreign leagues abroad.
He probably saying good.
The problem is that we don't have them playing in the highest leagues.
Right.
Yeah. He's talking
and
about
that's
level.
the difference. He's talking about really top-class professional leagues, including the EPL,
yeah.
where at one time we had 3 or 4 players.
That's right.
And we had in the MLS
quite a few.
Now we have, as recent as the other day, I saw 11 players playing in the second tier USL. And now there's a third tier USL and a Canadian league that is absorbing our players.
But that's confirming what I'm saying, though. We're just running out too early. Maybe he's saying that we don't have the top players.
Why are you saying we're running out too early? Really? If our pro league isn't of the quality, organizational-wise and player-wise
and financial-wise
as the leagues abroad, why wouldn't you go? In fact, players are being taken at 16 and 17 years old now and signing contracts at 18 years old if they're good enough to play outside. And if our players are good enough, I would be the first one to say if it's a quality league, a well-organized league, and you're getting good conditions, go.
And then you go too early. Alvin, you know this too. You go too early, and then you fall by the wayside because you're not ready, mentally ready, you know, and so on and so on.
That is why you have to have a good advisory team advising somebody and telling them realistically, not only for pro, but for college as well.
Correct.
Is this player, will this player function? Will he make it? Is he just going to sit on a bench at a school for 4 years at the school that he's at and not be able to play and develop? And again, something else I've been looking at. I've been looking at some of the names of our last under 17 and under 20 teams from 2010. And many of them have not progressed on into our senior national team, which they should be doing at present. Many of them have not.
Right.
And the answer is why. And it's not because they're going out too early.
What is it?
It is because they are not being developed to the maximum in Trinidad and Tobago.
So because they run out too early?
No.
They didn't stay enough to get
In a lot
developed.
of those cases, some of those players never went out. They stayed here.
Yeah, they're here. And I'm saying our development programs at our
Need
under
to step
17,
up.
they need a great step up at under 17 and under 20 level.
So it boils down to the same thing. It's like short blue pants, blue short pants. you have, if we don't have a good development program, you can't go until you develop. So step up our development program.
Yeah, but if there's another location,
they're not going to develop them. They have to develop on their own. You know, when you go out there, you better bring it. They don't have no time to develop.
There's a lot of demographics surrounding just one individual, Steve, that determines the decision that the player takes. And we know what those are. So for the average player, they're going to choose that option because it presents more of an opportunity for them going forward.
Right.
So unfortunately, it may be the case where a lot of them, before they really get playing-wise to a level of competency that will see them probably play at the highest level, being able to come back and contribute at a national level. That may not be the case with maybe 75% of them. But none of them going to turn down an opportunity.
You guys said something. You need to play. And I've always said that to even the kids that play in with our local team. You're leaving Civic or any other club to run to a bigger or better club or more organized, let's say W Connection or somebody else, and you sit on the bench. When you could have been with somebody else playing, you have to play. Whether it's a bad team or not, you have to play. It's no good you go into a great team and sit on the bench. Then you don't develop.
And it comes back to what the doc was saying in terms of who you have around you that's advising you. I mean, all of us are involved in football at all different levels, and we see sometimes the advice that some of these players get comes from people who only see in a very myopic sense. And unfortunately, the player becomes a victim of that narrow-minded thinking.
Right.
So it is important to really have good advisors who could advise you, sometimes even against your own wishes, right? But because you have an experience and a level head, you could put them to sit down. I have guys coming by me all the time to get advice as to what may be the best move. And sometimes what I advise them, I see their face wrong immediately because that's not what they would like to do. But because you come to me at my experience, I'm telling you what might be the best route for you. You could take it or leave it. But having that support around you, advisory around you is very important at that stage.
All right, guys, we come to the end. I want to thank you guys for being here, but appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, Narada.
Always a pleasure.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Alvin. Happy New Year as well. And Larry, I left you for last because I wanted to let you know today, you get best dressed, man. You get best dressed.
I wonder why.
Look at your shirt. I like this shirt. I love it.
I probably want to come on stuff.
Yes, you look great.
I'm unemployed now. So.
Keep it coming. And yes, I know you. Somebody's out there going to hire you soon. Tell them you're looking for a job.
Somebody might probably fire
Better
me.
trainer.
I've already been fired once.
Okay, thank you, ACTN, for giving us the opportunity. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in every Monday night at 8 o'clock. And we do have a repeat show on Tuesday at 1. If you need to drop us a line, you can do that on fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. And you can always check us out on Facebook. We're there looking for any comment you would have. The show's ended. Go in peace. My name is Steve David. See you next week. Good night.